Right now, you are the most powerful animal that has ever lived. You've got a phone, a roof, and strong opinions about lunch. But the day you were born, you were a disaster. You couldn't walk, you couldn't crawl, you couldn't even hold up your own head. Drop a baby gazelle in the grass and it's running within the hour. You just lay there, screaming, leaking, completely useless. By every rule of nature, an animal that helpless should have gone extinct. It didn't. It ended up building cities. And the reason why is one of the strangest stories in all of human evolution. Here's the part nobody tells you. Almost every other mammal comes out ready. A foal stands. A piglet runs straight to the milk. A baby monkey grabs its mother's fur and just holds on from minute one. Human babies grab nothing. We're born soft, half-blind, floppy, and about a year behind schedule. The skull isn't even finished. It ships with gaps in it, soft spots you could press because a fully built head would never have made it out. At birth, your brain was only about a quarter of its adult size. The rest got built later, out in the open, while something else kept you alive. Scientists have a polite term for all of this. They call human infants secondarily altricial, which is a clean way of saying born too early, too weak, too soon. And we didn't get a little worse at this over time. We got dramatically worse. As our ancestors stood upright and our brains started to balloon, we hit a wall. A big-brained baby will not fit through a pelvis built for walking. Just how early are we talking? The biologist Jay Gould ran the numbers. For a human baby to arrive as finished as a newborn monkey, pregnancy would have to last around 18 months, not 9. We get shipped out at roughly the halfway mark. Gould's way of putting it was brutal. Human babies are basically born as embryos. We just finish cooking on the outside. So evolution made a brutal compromise. It started shipping the baby out early, half-finished, and growing the rest of the brain on the outside. It also made human birth genuinely dangerous. Anthropologists Karen Rosenberg and Trevathan pointed out something almost no other animal deals with. We may be the only species that routinely needs help giving birth. A gazelle gives birth alone and is back on her feet within minutes. A human in labor, for most of our history, needed someone else there to help, to catch, to keep them both from dying. So before the baby is even out, the cooperation has already started. Hold that thought. Great for the brain, terrible for everyone involved. Now you've got a newborn that needs years of round-the-clock care just to not die. In a world with leopards in it. And it isn't just helpless, it's ravenously expensive. That half-built brain is a furnace. In a newborn, it burns more than half of all the energy the body uses at rest. In early childhood, it peaks higher still. Christopher Kuzawa, a biological anthropologist at Northwestern, found the growing brain can eat up to 2/3 of the body's resting energy. 2/3. An adult brain runs on about 1/5. That's why a human child grows so slowly. Almost everything it eats goes straight to feeding the brain. So how do you keep something that fragile alive long enough to grow up? That question is the whole game. And the answer is not the one you'd expect. For the longest time, the obvious answer was the mother. One heroic mom doing all of it. The evidence says otherwise. Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy, an anthropologist at UC Davis, pointed out something a little uncomfortable. A single human mother, completely alone, basically can't. Our babies cost too much. Too many calories, too many years, born too close together. A chimp mother raises one kid every 5 or 6 years, by herself. Early human mothers were having them faster than that. Alone, the math just doesn't close. So it was never only mom. It was the aunt, the older sister, sometimes a kid herself with a baby on her hip, the neighbor, the grandmother. Anthropologist Karen Kramer calls this cooperative breeding, a whole web of people feeding and hauling around a child that isn't even theirs. It takes a village isn't a sweet line for a coffee mug. It's the actual mechanism. Take away the village, and you are not here. And keeping that thing alive was grim work. It has no teeth. It can't tell you what's wrong. For most of human history, getting solid food into a toothless infant meant someone, usually the mother, often a grandmother, chewed it first and passed it over, mouth to mouth. There's a word for this, too. Pre-mastication. The first baby food on Earth was pre-chewed by a relative. You're welcome. And this is where it flips into something much bigger. We like to think the helplessness was a bug, a problem early humans had to survive in spite of. A 2025 study from Judith Burkhardt's group in Zurich argues it was the exact opposite. The helpless baby wasn't the price of being human. It was the cause. Follow the loop. Babies too weak to survive alone forced the adults around them to cooperate and to share food. All that sharing made it safe to grow a slow, giant, ludicrously expensive brain. That giant brain made us better at cooperating, planning, and talking, which let us raise even more helpless, even bigger-brained babies. The weakness fed the brain. The brain fed the weakness. Round and round for 2 million years. So your useless newborn self? That's not a flaw in the human design. That's the engine that built it. There's one more piece, and it might be the strangest of all. Almost no animal lives long after it can reproduce. Human women do, sometimes for decades. Biologically, that makes no sense. Why keep an animal around that can't make more animals? Kristen Hawkes at the University of Utah has an answer, and it's been holding up for more than 20 years. Look at the Hadza in Tanzania today, and you can watch it happen. The hardest worker in the whole camp is often a grandmother, out digging tubers for grandchildren who can't dig for themselves. A grandmother who feeds her grandkids does something sneaky. She lets her daughter wean the current baby early and start the next one sooner. More surviving children. More copies of grandma. And over thousands of generations, evolution quietly selected for women who lived long enough to be that grandmother. Menopause, that other great human mystery, might exist for exactly one reason. Useless babies needed a granny. So line it all up. A birth too dangerous to face alone. A baby too weak to lift its own head. A brain so hungry it starves the rest of the body to feed itself. A village that refused to let it die. A grandmother who kept working long after nature said she was finished. And a mind that grew enormous precisely because all of that was holding it up. That's not a list of human problems. That's the assembly line that built the human mind and everything we ever did with it. Which brings us back to you. The most powerful animal that has ever lived. The one with the phone and the opinions about lunch. You started as the single most helpless creature on this entire planet. And you only made it because a crowd of people you will never remember decided that a screaming, useless infant was worth the trouble. The weakest baby on Earth built civilization. And honestly, that might be the most human thing we have ever done. If you want to read the actual studies behind all of this, they're linked down in the description.